Oneness, The Destination You Never Left by John Greven. Introduction to Nowhere. Quote, "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence." End quote. From The Sound of Silence by Paul Simon, 1964. The word nowhere is complete as it is. Nothing needs to be added or taken away for it to be what it is. It is just a word. There may be an image in your mind about what nowhere means or what it is, but there is something that the mind may have overlooked when reading the word nowhere. It is as simple as noticing the space, and suddenly the landscape changes. Nowhere becomes now here. The same letters in the same order, only the meaning has changed since the space was noticed. The simple and obvious is frequently overlooked or taken for granted by the mind. You look at a page and see the words, but not the space between them. You watch a movie or television program without noticing the light changing to form the images. You mentally talk to yourself and assume that someone is listening. The mind is trained to focus on content. While reading this paragraph, the mind sorts, labels, and tosses out what it does not consider valuable. Perhaps the mind is looking for something within these words. Perhaps there is an expectation to be fulfilled. Yet if someone were to go back and point something out in the paragraph, it is possible that you would see something that was there all the time, but was just overlooked. Perhaps the answer is right in front of us all the time. The intent of this book is to point to something that the mind may have overlooked. It is not pointing to anything new, anything that you can achieve, or anything that you can add to yourself. It is not pointing to the good deeds you have done in your life to emphasize what a wonderful person you must be. It is pointing to something so simple, something so obvious, that when it is pointed out and seen, you wonder how it was ever missed. How is it the mind could have taken something so obvious for granted? How did the mind so easily toss out the valuable jewel in favor of its reflections? You may have been searching for self-realization, enlightenment, the Buddha mind, God, or some other goal implying the same thing. You may have been searching for many years, or you may just be getting started on a search. Whether you have been traveling a path for a while or just taking the first step makes no difference. This book invites you to take a look at the space that has been overlooked, to see what is obvious, and to bring that search to an end right now. If you have been traveling a path for a while, you may believe that with more practice, meditation, visualization, improvement, or study, you will get to the top of the mountain. But past practices and exercises do not lead to the top of the mountain. What you may see is that the mountain itself and the paths that traverse it lead only to themselves. You may convince yourself while traveling along a path that you are gaining spiritual growth, peace, happiness, love, or other valuable attributes. But is that really the truth of your experience? Are you any closer to self-realization than you were the day you started the search? The fact is, if the search is still going on, the answer is no. You are no closer. But that is nothing to worry about because nothing has been lost, just as nothing will be gained. This book will not help you along any path. It is about noticing that space in the word nowhere and seeing that it is really now here. This book is about removing the person from the path entirely. Endgame. This book will offer no path, no exercises, no teacher, no guru, no mantra, nothing. It is not about self-improvement, spiritual growth, or hocus pocus. There are plenty of other sources for those types of improvement, and a lifetime is not long enough to explore them all in any detail. You may have chosen a path that fits your particular temperament, and I am not by any means discounting methods, but that is not what we are talking about here. This is about a totally radical discovery. It is about seeing who you are, who you have always been, and who you will always be. What you are is not in hiding. It is not on some other level of consciousness. It is nowhere. Chapter 1. Who do you think you are? The most logical place to start in the discovery of who you are is to begin examining some assumptions about who you think you are, how those ideas came about, and whether or not they are true. This will not only be painless and effortless, there is a good chance that your mind will find it entertaining. It makes no sense that self-realization should be work, that a certain IQ would be required to know who and what you are, or that the mind's discovery of the self is reserved for those who sit in a cave or devote their entire lives to the search. Now, there is certainly a lot that can be learned, but for what we are talking about here, only basic understanding is necessary to get past some of the mind's expectations and assumptions. The body that you call yours was born dependent for its very survival. Immediately there were needs to be satisfied, but did the person you take yourself to be now exist then? At the birth of what you think is you, there was just a body with needs, a brain with basic survival instinct, and something present and aware. There were no ideas about what was happening or should be happening, but things continued to happen and develop without you. Choices to be hungry, to cry, and to sleep were not made, but just spontaneously arose as the body required. Immediately, the brain began to accumulate information and experience from the senses. There was basic programming, of course, to become human, just as a tree has programming to become a tree, so the human grew like other humans, just as a tree grows like other trees. You never made a choice to grow. Growing just happened according to the design that has continued to evolve or change since the first cause. This concludes this book sample.